Okay, we don't do a lot of that. We tend to die a little more slowly. We tend to get a lactic deposit. There's a difference between having lactic acid overcome you or deposit on you. There's a difference between that and anaerobic stress. Okay? We'll talk about anaerobic in a minute. That means without oxygen, interval training, you're sucking air, your heart rate goes up. Those two things tend to go hand in hand, but there's a difference between the two. Okay?
How far should they go for tempo runs?
Okay, we'll work on it. One second. The steady state run. Okay? This is not Jack Daniels. He probably would tell me I'm wrong. But I'm telling you, if your coach says we're going to start doing tempo runs, it's better that you do steady state runs first before you start doing tempo runs. Tempo runs are hard. If you read the definition in the book, it says comfortably hard. There ain't a hell of a lot comfortable about a tempo run. Okay? Maybe the first 3 minutes. It feels almost like a race in practice, except not enough cheering and, outside adrenaline and juice to help you. All right? It hurts. They're hard, long efforts. It shouldn't be a race, but they're hard efforts. A steady state is about 10 seconds slower than a tempo. So 30 to 40 seconds slower than your current 5K. Now a steady state run is comfortably hard. Because it's hard, you're working, but you're not deteriorating, you're going pretty good, you're not at the wall. Okay? Alright. Coach Ray asked how long should a tempo run be? Okay? Depends on the age of the athlete, the experience of the athlete, the length of the race. But for 5K running, it would be good if you guys could do 4-mile, no more than 5-mile tempo runs. Okay? What you might do is what we call a progression run, where you start out slower, maybe even slower than a steady state run, and then in the middle you've got about 3 miles at tempo pace, and then maybe you just kind of float in a little bit. Instead of just going to a jog, you float in back at steady state. That would be a quality 5-mile or 4-mile run. Okay? You can do tempo, you can break them up. You can do 2 times the 2, 3 times the 2, try to get some volume that way. And maybe there's, 5 minutes or so break in between. Take too much break, you're not getting the same benefit as a tempo. It's a straight up tempo. Alright? Cruise miles, we mentioned those the other day. Anybody ever do cruise miles? Okay? Jack Daniels' book, he's got mile intervals. They're slower than race to pace. They're at tempo pace. So if you're in, let's say 16 flat, 1640 shape for 5K, that's 520 pace, 1640 pace. So if you're in that shape right now, 1640 for a 5K, maybe most of you guys aren't. Let's just say that is 520, then your tempo pace is what?
540.
540 on Jack Daniels. What does Coach Brandon say? 550. All right, trust me, 550. All right, so 550 is your pace. All right, for those tempo runs. If you're doing those cruise miles, you're doing 540 on the fastest to 550. Those are the easiest mile repeats you'll ever do, right?
Yeah.
But what's the difference? The difference is they want you to be out there for 5 or 6 of those repeats. Okay, followed by, according to Jack Daniels, 1 minute of jog recovery. Well, he's out of his freaking mind. Okay? You're not going to be able to do more than a couple of that. I don't care if it's at tempo pace. You need to take at least a quarter-mile jog. Probably about a quarter.
Half time.
Yeah. Well, halftime you're getting a little bit long, but about a quarter-mile jog. Yeah.
Do you consider cruise and threshold kind of the same? Because we
Yeah, your cruise miles are at threshold pace. Or people might call them threshold miles.
Like,
We used to call them fat man miles. Because we didn't know what lactate threshold was.
because if we'll do like thousands at threshold, if
Yeah.
you come back, get like 45 seconds to a minute, and then you'll go again. So
Yeah.
we do it off the minute, but that's because it's shorter.
Well, if
distance.
you're going 1,000 meters off a minute, it works really good.
Yeah, that's fine.
But it's like a broken tempo. You're busting it up into different pieces.
Yeah.
You guys are younger. So for you guys to break it up into pieces is much, much easier. You can be out there longer. You can get more volume. You get more benefit.
Repetition.
Yeah.
We used to do something. We did the mile repeats on like 7s or 8s, like 8 minutes, and you run that and then you jog however long for the remaining of the 8 minutes, and then you go again.
Yeah.
On the minute, yeah.
Yeah, on the minute. On the minute, it actually came from swimming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, swimmers do intervals on the whatever minute it is. So if it's a 5 minute,
5 minute
half
session.
hour, hell, this one, I don't know. So they go 5 minutes and they're swimming at a pace where they finish in 4, and then they've got recovery, and then they go again.
Okay, so would you recommend that, or would you?
Yeah, it's a way to do tempo run.
Okay.
But you want to make it so that you've got, you're going to do several of them. You're going to have maybe at least 4 miles total, right?
5 repetitions.
4 or 5, right? 4 or 5 reps, and that there's at least a minute break. Probably 90 seconds, like Ray and I were saying, 90 seconds, 2 minutes if you want to do a lot. And Jack Daniels wasn't much of a runner himself, okay? He's an Olympic modern pentathlete. All right?
You know, shoot
Shoot the
Fantastic.
gun,
the
ride
gun,
the horse,
Ride the horse.
run a little bit. I don't know.
Golf ball.
Shoot some marbles. I don't know. Okay. All right. Okay, and then the last gear is race pace. Race pace. Okay? Years ago, here's what we did when we did interval training. The goal that we thought, the way to become a better runner, let's say we were running 8K, 5-mile cross-country race. So we would be doing 5 to 6 times a mile repeat. A little bit race distance or a little bit further. Usually about 6 times a mile, maybe 5 early. What we would do is we'd almost make a game on it. We'd try to see how fast we could average those 6 times a mile on a quarter-mile jog. So it almost became like a race or a challenge within itself at race effort sometimes. So we try to beat each other, try to have a faster average. So let's say we were running a race for 5 miles at about 5-minute pace, 25 minutes for 5 miles. Okay? We would go and practice and run 5 or 6 times a mile on a quarter jog in about 4:38 to 4:40. So we were running way under race pace. Okay, and the theory was the greater your speed reserve, the faster you're going to be able to race. And by speed reserve, meaning if I could do the whole distance or longer at 4:40 pace, then 5-minute pace would feel easy, right? Sounds logical? What's wrong with that plan?
You have to rest them.
Huh?
Is it because you have to rest?
No. What's wrong with that plan? Okay, what's wrong with that plan is you're doing nothing that's going to be at the pace you're going to run the race. Too fast for the whole session and nothing at the pace.
That's what George was saying you did with him, because he was, what, a 9:40 2-miler out of high school? First preseason race.
He ran
came-
9:25.
Yeah, not, well, whatever. But first race he comes out, it was like 9:08 after just summer base, he said.
Yeah.
By doing some
Jeez.
pace work.
He went,
Yeah.
he was pretty good.
He went 9:25 in high school, just did summer with him his first season.
Yeah.
This is, one of his top runners, he's had. And he runs 9:08 is just after summer, just off learning this kind of stuff, learning pace work and stuff.
But here's the idea. Here's what we know now. What we know now is if you want to be a faster racer, and you'll see this on the Jack Daniels pyramid when we give it to you, you want to race just under race pace. Okay? Just under, because A, you do want to be a little bit faster, but you want to be in control. Because what we would end up doing is we'd end up running that 5-mile race, and we'd go out like a bat out of hell. We'd go really fast, deteriorate in the middle, and then kick like a bat out of hell at the end. So our splits would be all over the map. And I'm sure all of you guys know what's the most efficient way to run. Even pace. And virtually every distance world record, at least it was 10 years ago, is a negative split. Every single one, from marathon to 800, well 800 was about even, I think, because the crazy Rashida was guys go out like nutbags. But even split or slightly negative. So if you're trying to run 5:20 pace, 16:45K, okay, you're going to be, ideally, the easiest way to do it is run slightly negative. The problem with that is cross-country presents a problem to that. Because you've got to pass more folks who are going out fast. It's just you're trying to get position, you want to cut tangents, you want to establish a good racing position, and you can't do that if you're running even pace because there's too many donkeys in front of you to pass.